Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Kolodziej, and I am here in sunny San Antonio, Texas at the Itron Inspire event. I'm joined here by Marina Donovan, VP of Marketing, ESG, and Public Affairs for Itron. Welcome.
Thanks, Stephanie. Good to be here.
Yeah, so you guys just released the Itron Resourcefulness Insight Report. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Well, it's a report that we've been publishing for the last, 10 years. And we like to take a look at what utilities' concerns are, opportunities, barriers, and provide just a holistic look that hopefully is useful to them so they can address, whatever the current issues at hand are.
Sure. So why did you guys include state public utility commissioners in this year's report? It was new for you guys, right?
This year we focused on the energy transition. And often when we ask utilities what are the key barriers, regulatory approval often comes up. So this year, we typically survey consumers as well as utility executives. So this year we thought, let's get the regulatory perspective. And so we partnered with Public Utilities Fortnightly, and we had Paul Schlander, a former neighborhood president, interview 10 state commissioners representing across the U.S. And so we had 250 utility executives and the commissioner interviews. And it was really, really illuminating, and I think hopefully a little bit different for a regulatory perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what was the most surprising piece of the report this year? No, there's a lot. But...
Yeah, there's a lot. I think the thing that was interesting was that the public demand is really driving, was a top driver for utilities and for commissioners in, moving forward and accelerating the energy transition.
Well, we talked a lot about in some of the other interviews, and what we've heard during the keynotes even, is just that need for collaboration, right? Especially with the customer. So I think that was very apparent in the report as well. What would you say would be some barriers that utilities can overcome with the energy transition? What should they really be looking for?
Well, some are barriers that are technology focused, and then some are barriers, that are a little bit different. So, obviously technology and infrastructure upgrades are a key barrier, right? And then there's a whole kind of category under the technology. But a big theme that came up from the regulatory perspective was affordability, right? Not surprising. And then the other thing that came up was education, right? So education to consumers, education to policymakers, education to regulators. Ongoing education conversation. And then for the utility, it was about educating their employees as well and retraining the workforce as well.
To really retool and get ready, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For the transition.
Exactly.
So what is the most important thing that utilities should really take away from the report? What should they do next?
Well, I think the good thing is that it helps give them a perspective broader than just their own. Sure. Nationwide, because this was focused on the U.S. And I think they might find some of it validating, or I think in general, especially electric utilities are going to find it validating and helpful to see what other groups said. So, for example, there was a lot about what are we going to do in 5 years, and what do we need to prioritize, and what have we done to date. So clearly, what have we done to date? AMI came up, preparing for solar and PVs, that came up. But in 5 years from now, they're like, we need to do a better job of load forecasting. We need to do a better distribution automation. We need to have more robust consumer education and engagement programs for demand response. And then ultimately, and this is where Itron plays a role, it's about providing more visibility and control across the medium and low voltage networks. And of course, we've got our own real-time intelligent platform for intelligence at the grid edge, which I think will help utilities manage this, because everything's always in a state of transition, right? So it's going to be a long process, but providing that visibility and control is going to help manage that transition now, as well as into the future.
Well, it's that distributed intelligence, right?
Yep.
And really understanding what the consumers are doing at their homes.
Right, and getting them engaged and getting them part of it. And I think there is more consumer awareness now, especially as we have all these extreme weather events. So, and there's more awareness. My children are definitely more I mean, educating me about things. So yeah, I think that there's more awareness, but that also means there's more education, and it's all the transition. And we just want to make it easier for utilities so they can provide that safe, reliable, affordable service.
Really make those decisions, based on the data, based on what's really going on in the industry. So we know it makes sense.
Yeah.
So where can people get the report?
They can download it on itron.com/RIR. Mm-hmm.
So one more question for you. What have you most looked forward to while you've been at Itron Inspire? What's been the best part, do you think?
The best part's talking to the customers and getting their perspectives, and just working together to solve some of these bigger problems, even though I know it's going to be a long time. But I mean, just having different points of view and having just really productive discussions and seeing commonality. I love our industry because like yesterday, I was in a meeting with 20 senior level executives, and they share information, and that's really helpful.
Right. You don't get that in a lot of places, right?
No other industry does.
No. And coming together in these kind of formats, I think is a great way to continue to accelerate it. So it's been a great event, and it's been a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.